All day, all week.
It's gonna be a long time because are we going home? No! Are we sleeping on Wall Street?
Yeah!
In June, the anti-consumerist group Adbusters called on people to occupy Wall Street, beginning on September 17th, and for as long as it would take to make a difference. Adbusters didn't follow it up with much of any organizing, but a group of young activists in New York, calling itself the General Assembly, took it upon themselves to prepare for and guide the action. They sought to do so in a way consistent with the democratic, egalitarian world they wanted to create, even down to the level of quick decisions about tactics.
What do you think about locations for the General Assembly? I mean, the cops are everywhere. They're trying to, they're trying to contain things. How are you planning ahead?
Right. We knew by calling something, any given convergence point, it was likely that the cops were going to shut it down. And so our idea, we have backup plans. They're not public yet because we don't want the cops to just shut down another space. So we do have backup plans of specific locations, backup plans of backup plans. So we are pretty prepared for it. And the issue is going to be getting a bunch of people from one space to another.
All day.
The General Assembly prides itself on, insists on a horizontal decision-making structure. So how are decisions going to be made in the moment?
We've set up a communications infrastructure. There are people who are responsible for scoping things out, deciding contingency plans based on circumstances that are presented to us. So yeah, we made a lot of preparations for this sort of unpredictable kind of thing.
So you were involved in the Bloombergville protests, right?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Bloombergville was a 3-week encampment. We occupied the space outside of City Hall, and we were there protesting general austerity measures in New York City.
So what's the connection between Bloombergville and this?
Well, we have a base of people, many of whom have been involved in activism and occupations for decades. And then we have this group of really young people who've just experienced Bloombergville and have a lot of experience to bring to the table at this event. And so while, the beauty of this whole thing is that there is no coherent leader. There is no coherent structure in place that's guiding us all. It's just this general unrest that's brought many different groups, many different points together here today.
They're going to be there before us. You tell it, they're going to be there. They're going to have that park squared up. Yeah, I need to talk.
There was a big decision about whether to stay at the bottom end of Bowling Green, which is where a large group was massed, kind of by accident, actually, gathered by a big shouting match with the police and then a speech by Reverend Billy. The crowd gathered there and seemed pretty safe. So the decision was about whether to stay there or whether to go to the backup meeting place for the General Assembly. Now, the General Assembly was initially supposed to meet at Chase Manhattan Plaza. That had already been barricaded. So now we're moving up to Zuccotti Park, up Broadway, a few blocks. They don't know how the police are going to respond, and that's what we're about to find out. Do you think that people are moving toward the idea of doing a General Assembly? Or, it seemed earlier like there was a call to have a big march and there was a lot of the usual kind of protest slogans being shouted out. Do you think that a group this size can buckle down and do that?
Yeah, we've seen it in Spain and in Greece, and it's definitely possible here to have the same sort of momentum. And I also think, there was a call for, regular protests with chants, and we heard the same chant, like, what does democracy look like, or whose streets, our streets. And I think it's just a pattern that people fall into. Like, that's what they think a protest is supposed to be. It's what they think an assembly is supposed to look like. So it's a real shift in people's attitudes and minds. And but it looks like now they're starting to form assemblies, and so we'll see how it goes.
The exact framework of the encampment itself will also be decided by the General Assembly. It might not be necessary that a consensus is reached where everyone sleeps in one location. Some people might sleep on the streets if they want to, stay here legally. Others might try to sleep in the park. But yeah, that will be determined as well.
Hello? Hi, how are you? I'm Lucas Vasquez. I'm an organizer here at the Occupy Wall Street encampment. We hear that you own the property that we're on right now. Right. And I hear you guys have let us stay here. Is that correct? Stayed here as an encampment. Okay. Okay. So he said they have not allowed us to sleep over, and he said that we will be arrested for trespassing if we sleep over. His words. So he seemed very like, no. There's not a chance. You're not allowed to sleep over. This is private property. You'll be arrested. And it seemed like he was just very aggressive with it. I didn't see any chance of some compromise.
Hundreds of protesters met in a general assembly and working groups into the night, and they made the decision to stay in Zuccotti Park. By around 10 o'clock, police had surrounded the park in a show of force, as if they were ready to clear it. But an hour later, most of them had disappeared. What militancy some protesters voiced earlier quieted for the night into music, talking, and the laying out of sleeping bags.